Okay.
In here.
You need me to bring up the agenda?
No, I've got that up. I'm just waiting for it to tell me that it's live streaming.
It is.
Okay, good. All right, now I can go to share my screen. Got it. Good. Share my screen. Welcome, everybody. Here we go. All right, can everyone see the agenda on my screen?
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call to order this meeting of May the 12th, 2022 of the Board of the Albany CSO Pool Communities. And let's see, in regard to Albany, we've got myself and Tom Dufresne. The co-hosts, we've got Gary Nathan, Rensselaer, we got Mark Hendricks, Troy, we've got Chris Whelan. Let's see, we don't have Joe Plasavita today.
Nope.
Maggie's here, Green Island, and I don't see Rensselaer Sewer District or Albany County today. We have Mark and Martin and Tom from Capital District Regional Planning Commission. So, do we have anybody else, or is that covering it?
That looks like it covers it.
Okay, then the next thing will be reading and acceptance of the April minutes. Did anyone have any comments on the April minutes? If not, could we dispense with the reading and approve the minutes? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, that was Chris and Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report as of May 1st. Tom.
Again, not a lot going on other than exceed. Picked up quite a bit of money there. We're at 46% of total budget so far this year. We have, after dispersing money to the city of Albany Water Board, we have just over $1 million in the bank, of which I have a check here for $200,293 going to the city of Cohoes. Also money received from our friends in Troy. So with that, any questions on the report as it stands? Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Vendor invoices. Martin, you want to go over?
Yep. We have a few vendor invoices, mostly from the city of Albany. I'll walk you through them. First we have is for Capital District Regional Planning Commission. This is for the first quarter of work. If folks will recall, we do have a 90% reimbursement grant from New York State Department of State that applies to fringe and staff salary. The grant does not cover overhead. So what you see is invoice total after grant, 90% of salary and fringe, and then the application of overhead. For the Albany Pool Joint Venture Team, we received a number of invoices related to general engineering, including invoices that date back from the full year of discharge notification system updates and modifications to that particular system. That invoice is also being applied to the New York State Department of State grant. And so the remainder of that balance is 10% of that invoice. We have a series of invoices from the city of Albany, from the Albany Pool Joint Venture Team. That's pay invoice number 4. That is for construction management for the Beaver Creek Clean River Facility, including an invoice from Jet Industries, an invoice from Keller, and an invoice from Carver. There's an error there with the Carver amount.
Yeah, Carver's.
Carver amount. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Carver's is a Cohoes project.
Yes, I'm sorry, City of Cohoes project, and that's one that has a New York State WQIP grant associated with it, which reduces the cost by 75%.
50.
Oh, it's 50.
Yeah, we got a
75%.
$1.93 million grant.
Mhm.
It's a $3.8 million
Okay, so my calculation is incorrect there. I thought it was a 75% WQIP wastewater improvement grant project. Okay. So
Is,
I will,
I guess my question in regard to Cahose's grant, when we've been working with EFC, they've been wanting us to maximize the grant part before we started using the financing part. Are you applying for the WQIP money to the maximum amount? Is that like a 75% with a match, Gary?
Oh, we weren't planning on it.
for that project, you've already applied, right? That's,
Right.
Is your first payment mostly going to be out of the grant? Except for the amount of the match?
Yeah, we didn't get any instructions that everything was going to be for drawdown of the grant. We couldn't do drawdown of the grant first.
When we do projects with EFC, it seems like every project's a little bit different based on the grant, depending on what they pay out first. Some is all grant first, some is a 50-50, some is they wait for the grant to be, kind of middle of the road. It would probably be project specific.
Well, on the EFC part, if you got WIA money or grant money associated with your EFC part, they usually do half of it in the front and half in the end. But also when we have WQIP, DEC grant money, they've wanted us to draw that down as much as possible in the beginning of our project. So that's how we did floatables, and that's how we did the Beaver Creek project. We drew down what we could on the WQIP before we started into the EFC money.
Well, I think that's how this is going to shake out at the end of this, right? Is the invoice total after grant will be half of what the invoice total is.
right. Yeah, so the communities are only going to be liable for that 50%, which the grant doesn't cover, which you guys
Right.
will draw down on.
Yep.
And that's how we've traditionally applied these grants in the past. We've taken them off the top. And then the communities are only obligated for the remaining percentages that they'd be
Okay,
be asked to cover.
but the percentage needs to be a little bit different. It's not really a 50%.
It's 50% to the $3.9 million.
Right.
So if we apply that 50% to any costs that go up to $3.9 million, we'll be able to draw down on the full amount of the grant. If there's any costs that hopefully knock on wood go above the $3.9 million, like Beaver Creek project, those costs will be full freight beyond the exhausting of the grant.
Okay, well, Gary, I guess you need to work with us in regard to how we'll be able to draw down with EFC, what part of it we're going to want to be submitting to EFC if you're using some of the WQIP.
Yeah, I mean, we can check too with DEC and find out, can we do all the grant first? I mean,
Okay,
Yeah, and the EFC has a copy of the master grant contract for that particular project, so they should be able to calculate, I say should. They have the amount of that particular project that's going to be covered by grant to be able to apply it against it. And that same traditional formula has applied for the Capital District Regional Planning Commission and other projects that have received grant, like the Water Fleet project. That's how we've calculated them in our system.
okay, but we just are going to need to figure out what paperwork we're going to need to get a disbursement request from the FC in regard to this Carver invoice.
Certainly.
So I guess I would just say we need to make sure we make that dispersible with EFC. And in regard to paying the invoices, I'd recommend that we include in our motion that we should make sure that we have dispersible, make invoices be dispersible with the EFC. So do I have a motion to pay the invoices?
As amended.
With the caveat that they are dispersible to EFC,
Okay.
which I believe they are. I believe the contract has been approved for Carver. I
Right.
believe they have all their MWBE requirements in there. I mean, they're going to want to see if there's a bill in the American Iron and Steel certificate. So I believe Carver's dispersible to their contract. So.
I mean, with the corrections made to the invoice. report.
Oh, yes, I updated the total is 50%, so $93,859.53 is the actual invoice value.
Okay.
And that'll be the value we apply against the invoice.
Okay.
So
Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Maggie. Chris and Maggie, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
great. That concludes the paperwork portion of the agenda. So I'm going to go back to the discussion items on the agenda. So the next item is EFC Disbursement Reconciliations. We do have a date. It is Monday, May 23rd. Is that correct, Bill? Am I recalling that correctly?
Yeah, week from Monday.
To meet with Paul Johnson at EFC and go over a number of these outstanding items that are still being held. In the meantime, I'm going to work with Tom to go over matching project costs with the latest disbursement requests from communities to be able to dial in those numbers so we can find out what still is available to draw down on the 00 financing and what may be held. I sent a comprehensive list to Karen Rusin at EFC of all the items that still have various levels of holds on them. A lot of those that I still have as a record of holds, we've been able to get the materials like bid tabs and wage interviews. We're not done for some of those projects, but I don't think that holds up the disbursement availability. But bid tabs and American Iron Steel, bid advertisements are all sent to the agency. So a lot of those projects, they still have disbursement holds on. I don't think they should still have holds on them if they've been advanced. Things like the asset management plan should be dispersible if they've had the opportunity to review the materials associated with it. So when we meet on the 23rd, it'll be a good opportunity to find out what is still necessary to draw down on some of those 00 financing items. And then there are some historical expenses related to CDRPC or engineering assistance, which the communities may be able to draw down on to be able to maximize the 00 financing. And we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, it gets somewhat confusing because they're trying to streamline the process, but our different financings don't really necessarily line up.
Right.
They all line up for the Beaver Creek project. We all have the same cost summaries because it's all the same stuff. But between Troy and Albany, we don't have the same things on our 00 and our 01 financings. And we've got an 03 and an 04. And if they're looking to be able to simplify things, it's not necessarily going to be easy. They also have kind of a catch-22 in regard to change order things, and that they don't want to review a change order until it's been executed, but they don't want to pay anything on a change order that hasn't been approved.
Yeah, I think we can talk through some of those process things because I think communities can still, I mean, at least with Albany, when you get an invoice from your vendor, you know that that's dispersible, and there's nothing that would prevent you from bringing that invoice to the pool communities before submitting it to EFC. So you could, I don't know where to look. You could take that invoice and submit it straight to EFC for disbursement, and then come to the communities at the same time and look for the remaining percentages. And then at the same time, what I'd like to do is copy disbursement requests. So when a disbursement request in goes, Troy gets the same disbursement request, sees what you're dispersing against and can match it up to the appropriate financing and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, another thing that happens with the change orders is they want there to be another good faith effort in regard to MWBE with each change order. So somebody has to do the research for the good faith effort and check, whether it's affecting utilization plan. I guess it would be okay if you were always giving your change order to your MWBE subcontractor. But if it's, the general contractor that's adding something to his price, then you might get held up with a MWBE on a change order. So, so a lot of the projects now with Troy and Cahoes, if I guess I have a question for both Gary and Chris in that regard. On your projects, are you doing some bans or some other financing to pay the contractors, or are you expecting that we'll get a quick turnaround from Albany on our part?
My project is small enough to cost until reimbursement's approved.
Yeah, for Cahoes, we're floating a ban. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to the comptroller Monday on that, which is the reason why I did a $4 million bond resolution. So I've got the capabilities of funding the entire thing through bans. And then when the money comes in, the money comes in.
Okay. Well, that's good, because it's a slow process with the state.
Exactly. Yeah. And it sounds like it's getting slower, and yeah.
But
Hey,
the
we only
consent order
waited-
doesn't quite care.
We only waited 18 months for our first disbursement from Department of State against our grants.
Yeah. Yeah. So if if you have any change orders on your project, we can't get payment. We can't get disbursements until the change orders get approved, and the change orders might be something piddly. We have change orders that just change the contract time.
Yeah.
But just to keep in mind, so that's good if you have the wherewithal to keep the contractors paid, and we'll settle up as we make things dispersible and get iron and steel and other things taken care of with disbursement holds.
And it's the same thing on Valide Street too. Valide Street, we went out, I got a $3 million bond resolution, and that's a $2.4 million project. But it's the same thing, contractor expects to be paid within 30 days. Yeah, that's what the contract says. He's gonna be looking for his money, he's doing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Timely payment. Okay, well, we're meeting with EFC and Chris and Gary. You guys intending to come?
It's more critical for Chris. You have a number of projects, and Gary, that's up to you. Well, Big C is a tiny component.
Yeah.
You're not driving the bus on that, but it may be advantageous
Yeah,
for
no,
you, for you to sit in. Yeah, to sit in for those. It may be advantageous for you just to know how Albany's processing
I'm gonna try to make
disbursement
it.
requests. So
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Columbia Street and Bleed Street and Polk Street, and how that's going to go. Those are all shown against our 01 financing, and now our 01 financing has a maturity in September of 2023. I'm assuming that those three projects are going to be all wrapped up by then.
Polk Street has an end date of December
December.
1 of 2022, so I hope
Yeah.
so.
all three of them, I think, are December's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So September maturity date isn't going to be a problem. Okay, that would be good to participate in that discussion, find out what there's going to be a lot of our EFC coordinators there. Paul Johnson's been really good working with us, trying to get things straightened around. So he was really the driving force to get this meeting.
Yeah, Paul's a good man. He's been here for a while.
What
All
else
right.
we got on the agenda here, Martin?
Next, we have, my screen share doesn't go quickly. Here we go. That one, yes, post-construction monitoring. So Bill, have you had the opportunity to have any discussion with Mike Miller and Albany Pool Joint Venture team about papering our I don't say request, our what's the best way to phrase this? Our belief that the way that the post-construction compliance monitoring plan is written, it says completion of Big C, the dose testing and facility testing that first year is part of that completion process. So just something to put in paper. We've already discussed with DEC to this, but we should paper it that 2024 is the period in which we believe that the next round should take place.
Yeah, I think Mike Miller was kind of reticent to do that, but I'll talk to him again. I think he kind of felt that Ryan Waldron had already kind of agreed to it.
Yeah, I don't want there to be any disconnect between the DEC, people that are overseeing this project and any of their legal folks that are looking to report compliance with the order. Because our post-construction compliance monitoring plan does say 2022 or completion of Big C. So I just don't want there to be any confusion on that issue, but I'll leave it to you guys to decide what ultimately to do. But I always think it's better to have a record to rely on.
Yeah. Could we include?
Sounds cool to me.
Could we include it in one of our semi-annual reports?
Yeah, I think that would work as a communication tool. We'll certify it. I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's an official document.
Yeah, it's a notice to DEC and
We'll have a sheet for post-construction compliance monitoring plan and indicate the next proposed date to be in 2024.
Okay. Well, that'll be submitted in September, so. Okay, I can do that. In regards to project updates, how's Big C moving along, Bill?
Good, just a lot of concrete going on with Keller and the satellite treatment facility. And two of the screens are in place at the south plant. They're working on the third screen. Keller hasn't yet started with the new actuated gate at the south plant, but waiting on production of the gate. Phase 1 was all done with Malloy's work, and phase 4 is all done right from Burke with that tunnel. So it's still going to be, we still think it's going to be March for beneficial use of the facility. We've been just kind of wondering on some of the electrical gear about delivery, because some of that stuff just finally got shop drawings released. So it's Keller's portion and the Gantt chart they've developed shows completion in March, and the Jesser, who's doing the heating and the plumbing stuff, seems to be moving right along. It's just Castleman and the electrical stuff that we're concerned about getting it on time. And we think we have National Grid coordination okay. They could sometimes be a problem at the end of the project.
That's one thing I think that really does need a communication DEC about the expected deadline, efforts to remedy, and I don't know, forbearance requests, but we do need to, we really should, according to the order, there's a whole section about deadline dates for projects. We really should make sure that we're adhering to that when it comes to notification to DEC that we expect not to make that deadline for the reasons you stated.
Yeah, Ryan had said that they had some room if a deadline was within 6 months of a consent order date, but he also said we should update in July when we have our next quarterly meeting. If we're gonna provide some sort of a letter in regard to it, that would be the time to do it.
Yep. But just keep that in mind. And I think documenting any efforts you take into to try to remedy that situation is going to be the first question they're going to ask is, well, did you try to keep it on time? And you can communicate that there were certain factors that prevented you from doing that. So
Yeah, but it's nice to be out of winter.
yeah,
All that concrete work, trying to do it in the winter was tough.
I can imagine. Chris, everything's going on Polk Street.
Materials are ordered, still waiting on contracts, It's held up with our attorney. He's just overwhelmed, but the contractor's still moving forward, getting materials ordered. They're expecting it's only gonna be 4 weeks to get installed,
Wow. Okay.
so we're probably looking at August start date. Which is perfect, because that's how long it's gonna take to get the materials. Might even be longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like it'll be on time.
Gary, things are moving along with your two projects.
Yeah, Columbia Street Phase 2, Carver's already put in the discharge structure. And they're moving in through the park right now. And so far, so good. I was holding my breath a bit because they hit some real hard shale. And I had to do some blasting. Well, we didn't take out any structures. The park is still there, and everything actually is going according to oil.
Is that something that required a change order?
No,
Okay.
so
And
Yeah.
Valley Street's going well? Valley?
the late, we're Newcastle. Other than cutting the trees, they haven't done anything. They're going to be coming back to the site early June. So we're going to have another pre-construction meeting when I think what they're trying to do, they've also got the parks job for paving the bike path on either side of our project.
Okay.
And they've already been going through our streets, moving the paving machine. So I think what they're trying to do is finish up the parks job on either ends and then come on in and do ours.
Okay. But no cause for concern about timeline.
No. No, as a matter of fact, they've got until actually next June. We hope to have them complete in the fall, but we wanted to extend it to May or June in case they have any plantings that they've got to redo, considering, half to 2/3 of the project is reconstructed wetlands. So we wanted to make sure we had enough time in there. If they had to go in and do any sort of extensive replanting, that they had enough time to replant and for us to be in a position that we could accept it.
Are you starting to look at scoping out the Little C project yet?
Yeah, I've got to talk to the mayor. He's got to agree, but I'm going to suggest that we go ahead with. This is me talking. This is not officially city economics.
Yeah.
But I'd like
Spitball.
to try to get an engineering grant both on Manor Avenue sewer separation and on Little C. I'd like to get those in, start working out some of the details, alignments and stuff like that on Manor. What exactly are we going to do with Little C? So that if federal funding does break loose, that maybe we can get, we'll be in good shape to try to grab some decent sized grants on these.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my suggestion.
Yeah, start design work early. that way you can be. in
At
position.
least planning.
Yeah.
And when I do the planning grants, usually I tell them, all right, I don't want fluff. I actually want some preliminary design in this, so we know what we're doing. We gotta order soil borings, we order soil borings under the planning stages. And then if we need more, we can build on that as we go into design. But I want something that's workable. I don't want a half-inch report that gathers dust. That's not worth wiping my rear end. Anyway.
You really have to learn how to express yourself.
Did we have any projects on our long-term control plan that we were going to look for something in this CFA round? Do we have an application in July?
Go to the plan and see what we have left. But
I have another separation that I'm looking at, that and the green infrastructure grant just came out.
we only have a smattering of projects left.
Well, you've got a project that has a April 2023 start date. Chris?
That's what I'm looking at going in for this grant plus the green infrastructure grant.
Screen, I'll show you what we got left. It's not the fanciest, but you'll be able to see what we got. You folks see that?
Yep.
Mouse. So our remaining projects, come on, chart, shrink. Our remaining projects are these 4 that have yet to be designed. Come on. Not doing well with my computer today. So we have Manor Avenue, which Gary mentioned, Liberty Overflow, Little C Floatables Control Facility, and then the Cross Street project with that Chris mentioned. Those plan and spec deadlines, the soonest ones coming up are Little C and Cross Street with completed design specifications in October 2024, which seems so far away, but it will be here before we know it. Manor Avenue, which is 2025, and then we've got let's see, I have Van Buren as in design, but we're getting there. That's coming up.
Yeah, so CFA is coming up, and also there've been notifications on the BIL.
Yeah, which they still have to promulgate how they're gonna put that package together.
There's a
Can't see.
webcast coming up on that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they did a session at the NIWEA and floodplain managers event, and they're still dialing in how that program is gonna come together.
I think they're also concerned with the new BABA requirement, how that's going to fit in.
So we'll keep monitoring that as a funding opportunity as well.
Yeah, we've authorized the engineering part of the Liberty and Skylar overflow projects, so we could get that to the point where we could be applying for some grants. But those are small projects.
Yeah.
Comparatively. So what else we have on the agenda here, Martin?
That's it. If there's any other business, I don't have any.
Other business, anybody? Okay, then I guess summer's here, just about 80-some degrees today. So hope everybody enjoys the nice weather, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Gary.
I'll
Second,
second it.
thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.